Smooth vibes. Come in.
Yeah, this is Soundbytes Radio. We in here live and direct. Once again, 2 to 4 p.m. on WVMR, WVMradio.net, and Soundbytes International live feed. Hello, all y'all. We say all out there in social networking land. This is Soundbytes Radio, where Black consciousness is the aim. That's right. Black consciousness is the aim. One world is Black consciousness is the claim. One world is the aim. One way I'll get that or another. It's 2018. It is January 20th?
Yes.
2018, and this is Nefera to my auntie Ra. That's
Hesire,
the queen to my left.
Nefera,
and that's me to the front. We got family in the building today. Shouts out to Sister Safi. She's in the building. Niece Zoe.
Zoe Blue. Say hi, Zoe.
She waved to y'all. Safi's trying to avoid the camera, but it's all good.
It ain't gonna happen.
She's still in here.
She's still gonna get it.
So yeah, y'all give a shout out to Safi, y'all. She always with us, standing with us. So absolutely, yes. So it is a new day. The dawn is a new day. It's a new life
for me.
You feeling
yes.
good?
I'm feeling.
Yeah. A lot of things going on. Today. We're gonna get into some topics. You know what I mean? This is what we do. Tag a friend. Tag a friend. Share the video on your page.
How you doing out there?
Yes.
Tag a friend.
We see y'all.
Join the conversation. It's an interactive experience. It is our extended family in the world and space where we get to be the impact of a world that is spiritually connected, inclusive, living in love, joy, harmony, and abundance now.
Boom.
Yeah, there's only one time in life, and the time is now.
There is only now. Yes. So what's going on there for us? We got for the people
we got a lot going on.
Today is what we're gonna get into. Today is the women's march.
Yes.
It's today. The march is today. There's also an additional event taking place in Vegas tomorrow.
Yes.
A few of the representatives from Black Lives Matter, John Lewis, he will be speaking out tomorrow in Las Vegas as well for a main event for the Women's March. But yeah, like really looking at the Women's March movement. We had Linda Sarzour, Tamika Mallory, and other prominent women in the movement that were kicked things off last year. The inauguration of the Orange One. Mm-hmm. Really speaking to the importance now more than ever in 2018, 2017. There's been a lot going on in the face of women's rights, the discrimination against the pressure against women's rights, and it's still a patriarchal society. I had a lot of uprooting in Hollywood as of the past year, a lot of uprooting in government as of the past year, centered around sexual harassment and the Me Too campaign and women's rights to their bodies being affected in these landscapes, and still letting the world know that like the civil rights movement, like all these movements that are taking place where people are fighting for their rights, we're still not done. And there's still a lot of work to be done, and there's still a lot of dismantling to be done in the realm of, as I said, patriarchy, misogyny, discrimination against, and even breaking down the barriers within the women's rights movement. How does that look for women of color in the women's rights movement? I know there was a lot of, pushback around the inaugural, so to speak, last year, given the focal point of whose concerns are in touch with the women's rights movement, as far as when it was kicked off last year. A lot of feedback around cis white women were a focal point. Blessings. Cis white women were the focal point, it seems, as far as their concerns. But how do we get to look at the full landscape of women of color, trans women, LGBT, all these different platforms around people that are still suffering from discrimination, even within what should be overarching conversation about women's rights and human rights.
It's a different experience as a woman of color. And there are so many different conversations around what are women's rights, what are equal rights, what does that look like in the many places that it stands in terms of equal pay. For work. Women are paid on average 27% less than white male counterpart. And women of color are paid on average 33% less than white males for the same job. And oftentimes, we often do more work because more as a woman is expected of you to perform those duties than of a man. And then there's also pro-choice, rights to choose what, your body and your health and your
body,
own
your
reproductive
choice.
health and reproductive rights around that. And then there's the Me Too campaign, all of these things, so I have a premise, don't get caught up in the mechanism, method, or technique, because there's an outcome, and the outcome is a result. So if it's not creating a world that's inclusive, spiritually connected living in love, joy, harmony, and abundance, now, then to what end? So there are so many different mechanisms in our space, and that kind of how are women of color inside of that conversation, oftentimes our particular needs are overlooked inside of this bigger landscape. There's oftentimes, and I also posed the question today into the space, is perception fact or is it opinion? Your perception of what you believe is occurring may or may not be true, but it may be your perception based on your ability to connect concepts.
And informs your perspective
and it
position.
informs your, right, exactly. So, and then, we can present here on Soundbytes, we can present the views, the different perceptions that are out there in the space. And quite a large portion of it was, the women's suffrage movement, the women movement, they galvanized women of color in order to increase their numbers. But it wasn't necessarily to address concerns of women of color. And then round robins, because if you're addressing women, period. So, the initial women's movement was generally, white women standing for rights, opposing their white counterpart, their white male partners, and standing for land ownership. And there was a time when the women who have had a white cultural experience couldn't own land. They couldn't. They didn't have any legal standing. There had to be a man, a white male, land-owning male who had to stand. And white women were largely abused because of this. They were used, as a second-class citizen, low-raised second-class citizen, and oftentimes they didn't have the authority to make decisions around their own well-being. So what ended up happening was they created this movement in an effort to allow themselves to galvanize and come together to create a landscape that would allow them to have access to having authority over themselves, right? And then in order to increase their numbers, they ended up including women of color. However, women of color weren't initially a part of the result, method, technique, and mechanism, right? So initial mechanism, technique, and method wasn't necessarily to support the outcomes of particularly women of color, right? And so, if you want to put it real flat, real, because that's how we do it here at Soundbytes, is a white woman against a white man. What does a black woman have to do in that conversation? Because there are several things that are happening in the space, right? There are several things that are in motion in the space. So you want to be really careful about your perception of what you're actually seeing. Okay? Now, if women's rights and equality is the conversation, which is inclusion, right? Equal pay would be a thing for both women of color and women who have had a white cultural experience. Right? And, pro-life, pro-choice, this right to your own body and right for protection and right for equal pay. I see you up in the room. Thank you so much. I see you, Shari. Thank you so much for coming in. Bless. So we want to consider, where are you coming at in this conversation for women's rights, right? And you want to be really informed as to what you're consenting to, because women have always needed, in the strata that was created, because the land was created by the forefathers of this land, And it was always based on a white male authority structure. It was always, the foundation was that, the result was that. So whatever the method, mechanism, technique was, which was suppressing white women, suppressing people of color, suppressing women of color, it was always about authority under the white male power structure, period. So that was the outcome. So every mechanism, technique, and method that you see in this space is not for you to get involved in and get enrolled in that space, because that was definitely what the outcome was intended to be. So as we moving forward, now women of color are coming into this space, and then also, if a white woman is against a white male, black women should not be against black males. Right. See, because once we got enrolled into that space, what ended up happening was black women started to become, under the quote-unquote title of feminism, started to function in a mechanism that was against the black family structure.
Right.
Because now you've taken on this role against, all males, the white male structure. Remember, because it was a white woman against the white male. So now black women joined this movement, and then they started to involve themselves in the theory against the white woman, against her white male part. Black women started to enroll themselves into that reality and started to diminish the black man. See, but the future of the black family has always been about a black woman and a black male. There's always been that fundamental unity and working together that raised up the family, right? And then you're talking about history. When you look back across the historical list, I see you out there, the list. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming in. And please join the conversation. Please add your comments. Yeah. Because we want to have a real interactive experience around what's in the space.
Join the conversation. Y'all here on us on the live feed. Join the conversation. Also like Soundbytes International on Facebook. Follow us. Share the video feed. Share the conversation. We're here for y'all. So, yeah. And
we're here to offer, again, I'm saying, Soundbytes is offering a perspective. Is it a fact or an opinion? Right? And we're bringing into the space what's in the space.
Yeah.
Because these are a variety of conversations that are actually in the space already.
Right.
And these are the things that people are out here that we're talking about. So exactly what did the women's movement do for black women? Because black women are still the most disrespected, the most underrepresented person across the national landscape. Right? Black women. Women who have had a black cultural experience.
Yet the most highly affluent and proficient in having a lot of these processes take place.
Facts.
As they actually should. What is it? There was a thing was like, black women was just like, fuck it, I'll do it.
Fuck it, I'll do it.
Like,
fuck it, if I stop
what are y'all doing?
Hook up the truck. Shut the fuck up, hook up the truck, I got this.
Right.
We're gonna do this. We're gonna have hey, y'all come over here, let's get this done,
In one way or another, regardless of what the physical labor or work that may take place, it's still the grit under their fingernails as far as the process and the production of this society.
Great.
And that's something that cannot be denied. Maybe people try to shun, but it's something that cannot be denied. It's almost like a thankless job. Not almost. It
is a thankless job. And then what ends up happening is you end up coming out there and you jump out there and get it all done, and you set the landscape for everyone else to then duplicate your mechanism.
Right.
That was efficient, and yet you're the last one to get credit. Or guess what? Not even get any credit. It is not even in your duty to get credit. I even talked to a couple I've supported a couple of in my other life. Supported a couple of individuals in certain corporate positions, how and which to approach certain conversations. And the fact of the matter is, as a woman of color, the consciousness around this space is the moment you open your mouth to speak about any concern. Let's just put it real passive and real light. Let's just make it real finesse. If you speak about concern about some policy that is in place that may not necessarily be most efficient, or may not necessarily be, guess what? It may be a violation of human rights. The moment you open your mouth to speak of the concern, you are automatically stamped the angry black woman.
Right. You're aggressive.
No aggression. There's no aggression that's present.
Right.
There's no hostility that's present. There's no strong language that is present. But the moment you address it, the psychosis, because what's also in this space, the higher you get, the whiter you get. So the moment you take your concern to the round table, you are automatically stamped as the troublemaker.
Right.
And let me tell you what. These things are all pieces of a huge circumstance. Right? I see you out there, Way. I appreciate you, beloved. Yeah. We got to speak the knowledge, my dear. We definitely got to speak the knowledge, because we definitely want to be informed as to where we where do we send our energy?
Yeah.
Because energy is very important. Where are you sending your focus and your vibration and your energy? What are you giving life and food to?
Yeah, what are you subscribing to as a result? What structures are you subscribing and latching on to that allow you to process through this life, and who you should process through the life with?
Absolutely.
Right, and then that's what we talk about with the family structure and things of that nature,
right.
And just like operating in a human landscape. Period. We talk about this a lot because that's at the end of the day, that's the goal of Soundbytes Radio.
Absolutely,
is the conversation around what does the human structure look like as far as everyone in the space of equity, equality, all these different things. That means man to woman. White man to black man, everything in between, white woman to black woman to everything in between,
right.
And like all these different layers of our humanity that get to be addressed in full detail. You know what I mean? So it's important that we get to have these conversations candidly, in depth and ongoing until there's a solution.
Until we come up with some real
common ground, some solutions, some like what does it look like to move forward from that? So it's not a conversation anymore.
Well, the thing about it is, there is definitely a broad landscape to address.
Yeah.
And having a strong foundation in facts and information is definitely going to be helpful to you.
Right.
And then also understanding that, listen, thoughts become actions.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts become actions. Thoughts create results through speak. So when you hold a position, you want to be careful and really investigate where you're sticking your fork. It's important. What are you subscribing to?
Right.
And I remember I keep telling you, I keep putting it to our audience, and I'm putting it to people in a space. Right? Yes, everything indeed is energy. And everything is energy, way. And I'm here to tell you that the reality of how you are thinking and what is creating how you are thinking, I pose it to you all often because I really want you to examine how you accumulated your thought processes. What has programmed you? I talked about the Bacchanascafide. Based on our society, there are methods, mechanisms, and techniques that are used to create this result. This result is not conducive to an inclusive, spiritually connected society living in love, harmony, joy, and abundance now. It is not conducive. The way that we've been Bacchanascafide as a society of people is not in support of creating an inclusive, spiritually connected society. Therefore, I've spoken to people who have had a white cultural experience, and they have to say to me that they are a reformed white supremacist. I have to speak to people who have had a black cultural experience, and they have to tell me that they are a reformed white supremacist. Why do they have to say this? Because you've come up in a society that has created these behaviors through being Bacchanascafide, that has created these thinking processes that then create actions in a real world space, that has you creating thought and premise around a reality that is a thought technique or method that does not create the goal that you want to create, which is an inclusive society of equity for all people. You're not going to be able to create that out of the thinking that you currently have. So it's important that you go through your mind and you really catalog those thinkings and you really go back through each one. And it is some work, and it is sometimes very uncomfortable. And particularly for people who have had a white cultural experience. As far as they're concerned, life is good for them. They are doing well. Right. So why even get into it?
Yeah. And that's an important piece to understand. Being clear, like what you said, was the idea of the white supremacist mind state is not just white people, right? I mean, and that's really the subscription of black people or people of color that subscribe to that, given that it's been the majority mindset that's been instilled, not even in just America, like the Americas.
It's a world.
It's a global thing. When you want to look at things like, just to go off on it, you want to look at things like, in Korea, the idea of like the lighter skin is still like something that's perpetuated. Things when you got like in Africa or Jamaica, all these places where bleaching is happening. All these things are like subscriptions, whether, consciously or subconsciously, to a white supremacist, white patriarchal mindset that has been conditioned around us.
So we got out here right now waves offering that this is a society that Europeans promote. Exactly. So initially this was so as a people we have come forward and we've said that we don't want a society that this is present, this is ostracizing these people, blacklisting those people, putting those. So this is, as a country of people, there's so many of us who said this is what we want. But initially, the society was created to promote European presence and their power. Got it. So now Natasha offers, what do we do to create a society that is spiritually connected and abundant, an abundant society? What do we do?
We do. Like,
what do? We could, first of all, we need to do an inventory, like I was talking about. We need to check in. But what do we subscribe to as a society? What thought processes do we actually subscribe to, and what are we willing to be conscious of? Because a lot of the things that we've been programmed, if we really look at them, some of them make us very uncomfortable.
I think the greatest issue with the issue is addressing that the issue exists. A lot of people tend to not want to be with the conversation around it. And the willingness to be in that conversation is a great starting point. Consistently and in a collective mind state.
Absolutely.
That's a start.
Hi, William. I see you, babe. How are you doing? So Wade says our culture, traditions, and beliefs are different. Understanding who, what, and where we come from will project our future as a community, a society, and in harmony. Absolutely.
And that's the biggest thing with us is understanding where we come from, what that looks like. You know what I mean? We all say, Africa and things of that nature, but what part of the Caribbean or what have you, but really is understanding where we come from culturally, spiritually, and having the conversation from there with self-identification, Kujichakulia, and really understanding who we are on an individual, and then the community, and then the world landscape, what that looks like.
We definitely get to be with our work as individuals, but then we also get to understand that method, technique, and mechanism are present in our society. So after we get out of our feelings, and after we get out of our own heads, and after we take on the power of unity, community, and harmony, now we get to go put in method, technique, and mechanism to create that in a larger landscape.
Action steps.
Because those are action steps. Doing those things, doing that self-work, those are all action steps. Those are all things that allow us to be connected to what we are creating as individuals. But then we now need to go in and put in system. Because systemic oppression is something completely different from one-on-one oppression. I tell you guys, I had one slight brush with a racial experience, person to person, man-on-man combat. But I haven't actually had that experience. There's been other people who've been called all out of their names and different things, right? But I haven't had that experience. But let me tell you, I read the Red Diary by Ida B. Wells, right? Soul of Black Folk. I'm clear about, Emmett Till. Those things move my spirit. And then when I see Emmett Till be in 1955, and then I see Mike Brown be in 2012, 2013, right?
About 2000.
Right, round about there, and then I see Fernando Castile, Tamir Rice. This doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work because that means that there's still some underlying. So there are people who believe that they're saying that they want to have an inclusive society, but in practice, the part where they believe that if we create a equal landscape, that somehow people start to lose things. That's a problem. Unless we're looking at a society that is abundant, right? So we get to really be with, we spun off from, the women's movement because all of these things are such a broad landscape.
They're part of the web. There's a web.
It's such a wide web.
These pieces to our humanity. You know what I mean? Like the women's movement is a piece of a bigger conversation around how we get past these issues as people. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's gonna spiral up.
One line, my sister.
Bless. Yeah, and it really is being honest with the conversation, to go back to the women's movement around, you have this thing where it was made clear, white women were a majority of percentages that even voted for Trump. And then let's be clear about that. And then also the initial Women's March being mostly about issues that white women were facing.
Right.
And it really is important if we're ever going to get to a place of discussing white women, black women, Asian women, or like women of color, all in these different
spaces. But everybody has a concern, and that's okay. I beg your pardon. Yeah. I'm going to cut your course, but everybody has a concern, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Everyone has something to address, which is fine, because that's the whole dynamic of living in a society where everyone has their own differences. But just as many differences as we have, we also have a lot of similarities. Mm-hmm. Right? And if we could work from our similarities, then we can move into a space where we create a landscape, technique, mechanism, and method that is supportive of everyone. Right. So we get so caught up in our, feelings. We got to get out of our feelings. I told you, your feelings is a trickery. Get out of your feelings and understand, what are you creating? What is the outcome? What is the result you want to create? And then work backwards from there. Right, and then that makes it very easy. If what you're doing does not support that outcome, then now you know what needs to be done. Now, and then being authentic around what are you willing to do? Because so many of us want to create harmony and abundance and love and joy and all of this here and inclusion, but they are not willing to do the work that's going to take to create that. Yeah. Because they feel like they're going to lose out on something.
Otherwise, it's just flowery language. It just sounds nice,
it's cute,
coming out of your face. But what does that look like coming out of your actions in a consistent action? It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday being. And that means even if you falter, you check in really quick.
Right.
And understand, like, whoa, okay, wait a minute. I know I said I was going to be loving or whatever. I'm going to be like, this is inclusive conversation. So let me back up. What can I do to move forward and get back on track? These things, like, and being intentional around self-check-in, self-care, and also looking outside of self and how you can support the rest of your people, and having, quote unquote, your people be more ultimately be more than your community. But we have to start where we are, as people of color, as black people, and really get into the meat of what ails us.
But if abundance is present, then no one loses.
So
this is the whole thing,
absolutely.
Right? Abundance is present, right? There is an abundance of everything. There's some realities. I see my sister Monique.
It's an understanding that the abundance is present.
No, abundance is present. However, there is such a couple of things, methods, techniques, and mechanisms that don't work. Gluttony. Mm-hmm. We are extremely gluttonous in our society.
Abundance in that way.
We are abundant, but there's a such thing as gluttony.
Yeah.
Right? Like some of us just overdo it and over excess, and these things are also rooted into our superiority complex and our need to be better than someone else.
Right.
So in order to show everybody in the world that we're better, that America is better, we're going to throw away a whole bunch of garbage. Garbage that's actually food that someone can use.
Right.
Right? School lunches, they throw away so much food at school lunches, it is ridiculous. Right, we mass produce so much stuff because we intend to throw away a large majority of it.
Yeah, abundance is sharing that out.
That's just ridiculous.
It's not letting it turn to compost.
I live a minimalist lifestyle. What minimalist lifestyle means, you use what you need. You reduce your carbon footprint. You use what you need. You don't take no more, no less. Right, and that doesn't mean that I don't believe in abundance, because abundance in a lot of things. I have abundance in love, joy, support, health, right? So that's a thing. So there is plenty for everybody to have plenty.
Right.
This reality of scarcity only works if people who have so much don't want to give up nothing. Because they feel like if they give up something, then what is their identity? Because so many of us have our identities hinged on so many things that are inanimate objects, things.
Abundance is evolution in that. Give it like the idea of like in contrast to giving up something. It's like whatever you give allows a space for you to free up so and you can be something new and receive, be something new, something different than you were beforehand. You give in one space, now you've created a space for you to be someone else in a greater place and receive something new for yourself. You know what I mean?
It's incredible, the reality of
when you think about we don't. That's the thing that ails us. We don't think about these things. Now on a pleasant landscape.
How being a minimalist would create an abundant world. Every day you should share. I should share. Well, I mean, what do you mean by share? What I do, how I live.
Like a daily post, like a journal.
My daily.
I could
share some of the things that I do in terms of living minimalist. Yeah. So.
Soundbytes blog coming soon.
Yes.
First postings be how to be a minimalist.
Yeah.
How to be a minimalist.
And then, because people have the reality of being a minimalist down to being poor. Or being
how you live.
In scarcity.
Right.
Or not having. Or, we don't have 5 TVs in our house. Just for instance. We have 1 television. And it's in the living room. Why? Because I was raised culturally where your television should be in your family space. The family space is the space where you go to congregate, where you go to communicate, where you go to share, where you go to support. When you go to bed, you should be shutting down your mind and decompressing so that you can have a fruitful and restorative rest. Right? And this is how I was raised. That doesn't say that we can't purchase TVs for every room in the house, but why? How can someone change to become one so that life is abundant? Well, it's what we say about changing. We don't change, we choose. I've chosen the method, mechanism, and technique that works for my outcome. So if everything, that's my checks and balance. If what I'm doing, method, mechanism, and technique doesn't create my outcome, then I don't do it.
Right.
It's really that simple. And see, that's the Libra in me, that's the analyzer in me, and that is, it is what it is. Black and white. People say life is not that black and white. Actually, it is. But see, if you want to struggle against it, then that's because you're not willing to make what's necessary to create the outcome that you want.
Right.
It's really that simple. There is no in between.
Right, and then that's like, not to cut you off, that's like committing. That's like committing to the muck, like you said, the muck in between.
Right.
Like stuff is happening, life is happening. You commit to one thing, like I'm gonna do X, and then life starts to happen, and you kind of let it happen because that's a part of life. So I get to do Y now, and then I get to commit to X tomorrow.
Exactly.
Be clear with what your X is. If X don't happen, what didn't work, and all right, time to get back to X again. But when you commit to or get used to the idea around Y is gonna happen, then you're gonna constantly have a space for muck to fill up your life, right? Rather than be clear cut, I want this to happen, this happened. Period.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And it's constant choice, constant choosing, something different.
Choosing, right.
Right.
And also putting in systems. I believe in putting in systems. Certain things to put into autoplay. So I have a lot of systems in my life where I don't have to think about certain things. It's just a given. I haven't had television is not a part of our lifestyle. We have times in our life where we go into television. We don't overuse electricity. We don't overuse it's just quite a few different things that we do. I rotate out my closets. I don't hoard. We do donations to the Goodwills. We have a bunch of different charities that we donate to. We don't keep. And I personally have a wardrobe that is, a flexible wardrobe. I have my entire wardrobe. I don't have, I don't need to go get all these different types of outfits for all these different types of life experiences. Most of the clothes that I wear, I can wear all the time. And if I put on a scarf or a jewelry or wrap my hair up tight or high, what have you, I could convert an outfit real quick to an evening outfit. I can take it from work to evening. I can go to a speaking engagement. I can go to a poetry reading. I can do a panel. I can go, except I have my workout clothes, my gym, my sweatpants. Right? But my sweatpants also dub as my tights that I wear underneath my dresses in the wintertime. Right? So I don't have, and to me it's not necessary, right? Because it's excessive, right? In terms of what is fundamentally necessary. I used to have, recently I threw away about 100, maybe 125 pairs of shoes. I had a huge trunk of shoes in my living room that I was using as my coffee table. I had a huge 2 bags of shoes in the closet. I had 2 Rubbermaid containers on my terrace full of shoes. For real. And I went through them shoes and I said, I haven't worn some of these shoes in 3 or 4 years. I'm giving them away. That was it. And to me, that was my recklessness. Because I said, I spend economically when it comes to my clothes, but I would spend a coin for my shoes. And that's the foolishness that I was telling myself for years. Because if I'm not going to spend a lot of money on my clothes, I'm going to definitely be spending some quality on my feet. Okay. Because mama don't play that. Can't be having my back and my neck. So that was the story that I was telling myself.
hurt because of my shoe.
Exactly.
Rhyme, but whatever.
To support, being able to spend $600 on a pair of boots. Really? That doesn't work. Like, it's not necessary.
Yeah, you get to release in some way.
Yeah, I definitely was able to release, and I was definitely able to release that, and it really supported me. Because again, we'll buy what we want to buy. We'll put our coin we want to put our coin. So gluttony is something that doesn't work in a society. Thank you, appreciate you.
Bless, brother Steve.
Got you.
Stephen Charles, appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Join the conversation.
Yeah,
share with your friends.
Share with the people. We
Join
hear
us on YouTube.
Every Saturday.
Paula on YouTube.
Yeah, Soundbytes Radio. What is it? 2 to 4 p.m.
Yes.
Every Saturday. Live and direct.
We can get into some topics that really support us as a human landscape and support us inside of creating a society that is inclusive, spiritually connected, living in love, joy, harmony, and abundance today, right now.
Today, in this moment, right now,
this moment.
At 3 o'clock,
here,
you know what I mean?
Every day.
And it's a conversation, really is. Like we appreciate everyone. Thank you for checking in on the live feed chat. Sharing.
So much jumping in
absolutely. Share your topics. Anything you ever want us to talk about on a future show, on the show at the moment, we roll in with it.
Yep.
What's up?
So you can talk about, your no meats, going, we're going to talk about no meats and stuff today.
Okay. We're going to talk about no meats. Yes, so we're going to share in this. We're gonna intercept for a moment to talk about some health.
Health.
Some health life. So we started releasing meat from our diet.
We released meat.
Okay, feed the neighborhood, Natasha. We love you. Appreciate you.
Thank you, beloved.
Ashe.
Yeah.
Speaking of feeding, right? So, we started a new diet for 2018, releasing meat. It's just been 12 days now, 13 days, so to speak. Now we've had no meat in our diet. Now this is the longest I've ever gone.
I've done it before. However, I wasn't doing it properly because I was replacing meats with more carbs, which isn't good either.
That don't work.
More potatoes, more rice, which is also more sugar.
Right.
So this time I'm doing it authentically the right way.
Yeah.
And I've released quite a bit of weight just in a couple of days.
Okay. It's switching over to plant-based thinking, plant-based, foods, and being really responsible around eating it. Not, being like, the 3 meals a day, because it really is about your metabolism, what works for your body best. But what I've found in this so far is choosing into the adaptability around eating a few hours every day, committing to more water. Committing to more water. At least a gallon a day. We try to fit that in throughout the day. And a lot of these intermittent meals of whether it's a kale salad, carrots, tomatoes. Switching in some spinach and maybe mix it with some brown rice. Black beans, Brussels sprouts, all these different things. And
roasting sweet potatoes, which is yummy. You know what I mean? Like really, and filling up the space to where, it's a process in how you train your body to be at its higher self, and it helps you. It really, what I've found is supported not only my consciousness and getting more clear every day in my head. But also my energy is up, right? That's been the biggest thing. Getting that green salad, that green kale every day.
Like I can't even remember.
Everything for your energy, your focus.
I can't even remember the last time my energy has even felt like the way it has. Really, getting past the first couple of days. 4 days, 34 days, a little hectic. But once you get past it, it's like, and it can make it a consistent practice. It's easy, and it's like, holy crap, how was I eating meat before? And I have to say, that's not to downplay meat, right? I'm not going to be some super vegan.
I'm not downplaying nobody, but this
food is food. We love food, but really, I've appreciated.
That's not true. What? So technique, method, mechanism.
All right. Well,
so the food quality that we're having, the meats that we're having, isn't really supporting.
Right. Exactly. Right.
It's producing too much pus in our system.
Right.
It's producing too much bacteria in our system. It's too highly filled with hormones
these days. Yeah.
And no one wants to talk about where all these cancers are coming from. They're coming from somewhere. There wasn't as much cancers 25 years ago.
Cancers, carcinogens, all these different things in the chickens.
We know. I knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody who had passed away from cancer. I didn't check. It wasn't that close to me personally. Now, I can't even name on 2 hands how many people that I know in my close proximity that has had a bout or has passed away from cancer. So it is a direct correlation with our lifestyle. There's a couple of other few things that I also do. And Natasha talked about minimalist. I don't use deodorant. I don't buy deodorant. We use Crystal. And I've used Crystal for almost 7 years. And a Crystal stick lasts me for almost an entire year. One Crystal. So I'm not spending $4 on deodorant that is filled with chemical, aluminum, and sulfurs to go into my body and have to run through my kidney and my liver and put these poisons into my system.
Right.
The closest gland to a woman's breast is your sweat gland.
Exactly.
You don't want to stink. You don't not want to sweat.
Right.
You don't want to smell. You don't not want to sweat.
Sweating lets you know your system works.
Sweating means your system means your system
working.
is doing
If you're not sweating, that's a problem.
That's a problem.
That's actually a problem.
So what causes the smell is the bacteria and the oils and the things out of what you eat. So because I have good quality food, I don't smell. What the Crystal does is it coats your skin and it keeps the bacteria from being able to grow on your skin while you're still able to sweat. So that's an issue. There's some things, a couple of things around that. Baking soda for brushing your teeth as opposed to fluoride toothpaste. Even the non-fluoride toothpaste isn't so great because it still has some chemicals, some preservatives in it, which is like, how you going to have... It's a lot of things, right, guys?
I felt a different cleansing in using the baking soda versus the toothpaste, because even when I've been doing it for a while now and then went back to toothpaste for that one moment, I felt like my teeth were coated with like sugar and bubble gum, and I was like, this doesn't work. So it's a different type of cleanliness. Thank you, Brother Steven. We appreciate you. It's important to get this knowledge out. You know what I mean?
Share the video.
So this is the point. This is the point of this stuff.
Share.
You know what I mean?
Thank you. I appreciate you.
And we hope that more of this conversation, this type of conversation, gets out in other places.
And we hope that people will share the information, and we hope that you will begin to implement the information. The blog is coming. The vlog is coming.
We'll be sharing stuff outside of the radio station. Yeah, things outside of the radio station. We'll be sharing little tidbits and little clips and snippets. So we'll go back to this health watch. We'll go back to the vegan life, raw food diet. So we're about 85% raw food at this point. Yeah. We do bake the pumpkin to make the pumpkin soup. We do roast. So good. We do roast the Brussels sprouts. We do bake the sweet potatoes. I never liked pumpkin like that. Oh, but aside from that, banana pudding, I didn't know I like it until this woman here whipped it up. I've been a fan of it since. Now pumpkin is on my list.
Right.
And what? She makes the bomb ass pumpkin soup.
Pumpkin soup.
I love it. I'll eat a whole pot by myself.
I'm like, that's enough. You gotta wait and save some for tomorrow.
No.
Because you have to do your portion size is important too.
Portion size is important, right? Shrinking your stomach, limiting the amount of this idea of hunger or this experience of hunger, and even understanding that you're having this experience of hunger rather than I'm actually hungry. You know what I mean? Right. And that's something, we go to understand as a mastery conversation of mastering your body, mastering your mind, and you mastering you in a landscape within the rest of, humanity itself, right? But other people. So mastering your conditions, mastering, how you move through life. So really even the idea of hunger, are you hungry? Yeah, we got
I'm gonna show them.
Yeah, LaCroix, we just talked about. That's pretty cool. No calories.
Yeah, no calories, no sodium, no sugar, no colors, no nothing. Right. It's just low carbonated water. It's good. Exactly. But I'm walking with my lemon infused water.
Right. Break down the bacteria, to break down the mucus in your body. Yes. Allowing to clear your passageways.
Blessings.
Yes. Bless. Who's that? Malene Brissette?
Yes. Thank you, Brissette. Blessings.
Thank you, Brissette.
So you want to bring in those things that cleanse the mucus out of your system. You want to get rid of the lemon, the lime. I eat the grapefruits every day.
I don't know about grapefruits.
I love pink grapefruits.
I'm still leery of them grapefruits.
And we use the kale salad, the green salad once a day. It's everything in your life. You need the chlorophyll. You need to have the greens. The greens is definitely for the energy for you. Important. And kale is one of the best types of greens. Yeah. And
this is the
water every day, guys.
Yeah.
Half your body in ounces of water per day. Half your body weight in ounces. So everyone is not going to drink 8 glasses of water. Some people are going to have 90 ounces of water. Some people are going to have 150 ounces of water, depending on where you're starting from. Right. But as you're putting the water in your body, you're going to be shrinking. You're going to be coming down. I'm clear that I've already begun shrinking. People are already telling me, "Oh my God, you lose weight," because it happens to me so quick. You know, my thing is the asthma, and once I started doing more of my lemon water every day, it's been clearing out my lungs and my chest. And now I'm in a better situation where I've begun to cleanse, because I was having such bad attacks over the past 2 years, just so often and so frequently. I was consistently having, and so, you know, some of the asthma with me is also anxiety related and stress related, and things like that. So those things have now pretty much gone. Yeah,
it's important to pay attention to your body. Like, really, like people say, like, it's really important to pay attention to your body. Like, I want to share back to the greens really quick. Like, I had it was yesterday where, you know, from the usual routine, you know, I was running around in the morning, and the most I had in the day was like middle of the day. I had some oatmeal, you know, raisins in it and what have you. I had some oatmeal, right? And, you know, I sat there, you know, I sat on the couch, was chilling with the wife and whatnot, and I passed out. I haven't crashed in like the past like week from anything. I haven't been groggy. You know, that was my story before with meat in the way. It was like being groggy around. Hey Zoe. Being groggy when I wake up, you know, and understand. And this made an understanding that meat was part of that conversation, or what I was putting into my body was that part of that conversation. So I was literally crashing on the couch, just passing out. Yeah, say hi to Zoe, y'all.
Say hi to Zoe. It's our niece Zoe. Hi Zoe, say hello.
Hi Mama.
Mama's in the house. Okay. But I was literally on the couch. I was crashing, and my wife had a shout out to Zoe, y'all. My wife had a salad. She had whipped up the salad, kale salad.
I make the salad every week.
Right.
Okay, every week I make the salad in a huge container, and literally it's only Himalayan sea salt, turmeric,
carrots,
shredded carrots, and cherry tomato halves.
Yep.
Shouts out to Woke Foods, who gave me that recipe about 3-4 months ago.
Yeah, shout out to Woke Foods. Definitely check out Woke Foods, y'all.
Woke
shout out to our sister Isannette. Yes. So she had the salad. I'm crashing. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? I need to get up.
And coconut oil. A little drizzle of coconut oil. Forget about that.
Yes.
And that's it.
Yeah.
A little bit of lemon juice.
Yeah, lemon juice. Yes. So the moment I ate the salad, right? Remember I told you, the most I really ate yesterday was like, at the moment, was oatmeal. And I had like a slice of, you know, like a banana, you know, banana cake.
Banana, right. And
whatever.
Some water.
And some water. But I was still crashing. And the moment I had the kale salad, I had a bowl. But literally the moment I had that, maybe in 10, 15 minutes, whoop, I was up for the rest of the evening. I was up, and I was like, whoa, that's a crazy transition. That is a crazy transition. So that's really understanding like how effective the things you're putting into a body can be, right?
Yeah.
Literally, I ate one bowl of kale salad, one opportunity for greens, and after the whole day, and energy shot right back up again. You know what I mean? So it made me even rethink like coffee, even though I love coffee. But things that we think and latch onto as these pick-me-ups, as these things that fill us, these things that make us feel good when we eat them,
right. And
it's a self-assessment, right? Like, okay, how much is this really serving me health-wise? You know, longevity-wise, you know, avoiding, you know, like, what's up? You know, and really connecting to that consciousness around our body, you know what I mean? And that's connecting to our higher power in a sense, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because definitely what you're eating is fueling your body and your system.
Fuel, exactly.
So remember, method, technique, and mechanism. Method, technique, and mechanism. Whatever the method, technique, or mechanism is, has to be creating the desired result.
Exactly.
If it doesn't create the desired result, then shut it down. Like, get rid of it. Like, and be really powerful, adamant about, I'm getting rid of this, because this doesn't serve my purpose, period.
Yeah.
This does not support good mental health. These things do not support good physical health. This action does not create high energy levels. This situation, staying up late, doesn't allow me to be as energized and vibrant as I want to be tomorrow. Like, these things, so I'm not doing it. And like, that's it.
Right. And even really quick to even speak to that, like, even if it comes to a point where like sometimes you stay up a little late or whatever the case may be.
I'm a night owl.
Right. Well, I'm like, even like that, you know what I mean? Like the other day, had like 3 hours of sleep.
Right.
But because of what I put in my body, because of what I ate that morning, I didn't even feel it. The quality of the food.
Yeah.
I didn't even feel it. I went through the whole day, went to work, was like moving around and like really no lack of energy whatsoever.
Your body
needs
3 hours of sleep. 5.5 hours.
Yeah.
They want you. Science or medical asks you to get 8 hours of sleep. In a society that we've created, unfortunately, 8 hours of sleep isn't always attainable. So 5.5 hours, if you're eating properly and you're getting proper, eating the proper foods, proper energy, proper nutrients, and you're also getting enough exercise. Because I've also been using an app called Sweatcoin, which has been keeping up with my walking. You're fine with 5.5 hours of sleep. You're fine with 5.5 hours of sleep, but you really want to get quality food. So today we're eating for quality, not
for comfort.
Not for comfort.
Not to feel like I'm satiated. Not to feel like I'm full.
That whole thing, yeah.
I need to be full. Let me eat this pound of chicken. No, like it's really like I need to be fueled up and amped for the rest of my day or whatever that looks like. Let me eat these particular types of foods. And yeah, you get to be meticulous about what you put in your body. Like that's like come on, like it's your body.
You put fuel in your car,
right?
But you put like crap in your body.
Okay, you might as well eat.
You get an oil change every 3 months, but you refuse to fast.
Yeah, come on now.
You refuse to fast, but you change out the oil. You get rid of all the old and bring in the new.
Yeah.
But you refuse to do a 7-day fast.
You want to think
Cleanse.
You want to think about exactly. You want to think about your worthiness in your body because it starts within, right? It starts with your body. They say your body is your temple. It's true. You want to decorate. You want to decorate regularly. Interior decorate regularly. That means not only your physical body but your mental state. Right, because when you're in your right mind, then you're in your right soul, then you're in your right space and make right decisions. Exactly, in your physical landscape. You know what I mean? It really is. It gets to be an important part of your processes on your everyday. It can have you in a different state of joy. It can have you in a different, look at even situations that can be frustrating. You could look at them differently just because you're in a clearer mind state about what you eat. It's really all attached.
It
definitely does. Like
absolutely.
There's no detaching any one piece of your life from another. And I've found in my experience that a lot of people do that. Like, well, this doesn't have anything to do with this, so I'm fine. I just may smoke a cigarette a day, but it doesn't have anything to do if I eat this food, it's fine. No, it's still practices. Put the pieces. You get to put the pieces together how you choose, but make towards your best self. Right.
But then they said that, eating healthy is expensive. It's not really expensive.
It's not.
You know what makes it not expensive? Because if you're eating the proper portion sizing and not into gluttonous, because gluttony is a part of our society.
Right.
So thinking that you have to sit here with a huge plate of food, that's incredible. That's our wedding day.
Oh, right. Focus up.
So that's a thing. So you're going to have to go with mommy. When we finish, you're going to come back over and talk with us, okay?
Yeah.
It's important for us to understand that, remember, we want to really go through our checks and balances. So these things are built into our society that makes us think that if we can't eat a huge plate of food, that we're starving.
Exactly. And I think
humans are creatures of habit. Absolutely. We're definitely creatures of habit.
And that's why you get to commit and break those habits and be really.
It's mental.
It is mental.
There are people who refuse to have the third quarter on their plate empty. Right. I can't imagine not having meat.
Right. Why not? Imagine something. You can imagine 1,000 other things.
Being fed and and you got nutrients. Is that okay? Because as long as you've been. You're living, you're eating nutritious food and it's, you're getting the nutrients that you need. Why does it matter what's in the third section of your plate?
I think the biggest foolish misconception around eating vegetarian, eating plant-based, or what have you is, then I gotta eat more food. Not necessarily. You don't. You really don't. You can control the way you're eating your food throughout any given day, but it's not your plate doesn't have to be full. You know what I mean? You don't have to necessarily...
just get a smaller plate. If you want to see a full plate, get a smaller plate
right.
and fill the
Trick
plate.
Your mind.
If you need to see a full plate just
Jedi,
eat with a smaller plate.
Play Jedi mind tricks on yourself.
In order to create the technique, method, or mechanism that is going to create the outcome that you want.
Right.
Simple as that.
Simple as that. Come on, Charlie.
Charlie, why?
You know what I mean?
So we're going to help you guys with those.
Yeah, look to our page, Soundbytes International. We'll share stuff in this vein, we'll set up a blog pretty soon. We can share some tips and tricks. Just stay in tune with us. Soundbytes Radio, Soundbytes International on Facebook, Soundbytes Radio on Instagram. We're looking to be supportive in any way possible. Mind, heart, body, and soul. You know what I mean? That's just what it's about.
Because let me tell you, if you don't have the strength to do it, then how are you going to be able to,
and how do you
be
get
the powerful stand for humanity to create a world that's inclusive, spiritually connected, living in love, joy, harmony, and abundance now?
How do you build up your physical strength? You go to the gym, you lift some weight, you put into practice, you do reps, you do sets, and you put this as a routine, right? So what does the routine look like for your mental strength, for your spiritual strength?
Yes.
You got to put these things into practice. What is the mechanism around that? And keep doing that as a daily practice, a daily reminder. And this is how you can strengthen your will, strengthen your mind state, all these different things. And you can say it's not easy, but it can be, and how you treat it.
It definitely is easy.
It can be fun.
It definitely is easy, and it's actually fun.
When you hold things hard, they will be hard. You hold things easy, they will be easy. It's just being committed to it.
And trick yourself for the first 4 days. I mean, if you can trick yourself for the first 4 days, you'll be fine.
Right.
And hear this. You're going to go.
This carrot is a burger. This kale salad.
I wouldn't even suggest that. That's like.
That's psyching stuff out.
Because mentally, what mental, your pictures, your thinking become actions.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking a burger, you're still kind of like spiritually and energetically connected to the meat.
Eating the veggie burger.
The energy. I just want people to develop the love for fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want you to develop the love for eating healthy, because healthy is going to invigorate your red blood cells, get more oxygen to your brain, distribute your body better, and release the waste and the toxins that we're keeping within our system faster than we do now. So getting stagnant with the chemicals that we have in our bodies. Come, Mommy said come. Zoe's going to be coming back in a little while to talk with us a little while longer. So she's going to tell us a great story, and we're going to see what she has to say. We really want to detoxify, get rid of those wastes that's in our kidney, our liver, and some of the things that are moving around in our system that don't actually support us. We want to also maintain good digestive flora, which has a lot to do with the lemons. If you have the lemons and limes and the citrus, that can cleanse out the flora in your stomach. That also helps a lot. And I was told some time ago that, when you eat meats, it's going to be in your system for the next 7 years. The red meat, when someone passes away, there's still the residues of red meat in their stomach and in their intestines, because our body doesn't digest it. And I'm not here knocking people who eat meat. I'm not knocking anyone. What I'm doing is I'm standing for a world that's inclusive, spiritually connected, living in love, joy, harmony, and abundance.
Right, exactly. We was there 2 minutes ago. So.
And to do that, we really want to start to
be intentional.
Be intentional about our health and about taking care of one another and supporting each other's health and wellness, so that we can be here to fight the good fight. And to make the shifts necessary to create this inclusive and spiritually connected space that we're all here on the third rock from the sun.
Exactly. Fights can't be won if we're not out here. So be intentional with how you treat your body. You know what I mean? And then when you be intentional how you treat your body, it makes you intentional about how you treat other people. Because if you connect to that journey, you know what I mean? Because when you're I treat myself better, then it's I find the worthiness in myself. I treat myself better, now I can treat my fellow man better.
Yes.
Not just saying you necessarily have to wait to do that, but it really gets to be an empowered conversation when you stand in your own self-worth. Thank you. Stand in your own self-worth around how you treat yourself. Because then you're a reflection of everybody else around you. We're all mirrors of each other in one form or another, whether you believe it or not, because we move in relation to each other. You know what I mean? Whether it's family, friends, strangers. We move in relation to each other. We share common experiences. Why you think the whole idea, if you believe in zodiacs or not, there's only 12, and it's how many people in the world? But yeah, we all share this in some way. There's always a trait or character trait that we relate to, oh, that's me. Yeah, because we're all in relation and connection to each other. Right. So, an empowered and a heightened state of self-love is an empowered and heightened state of love for other people around.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's also how you treat your body. That's also how you treat yourself.
I got you. I appreciate you guys for coming in.
Yes.
Please join the conversation and share the link with a friend.
Yeah, share it to the people.
Join the conversation. So, so we're doing the whole 85% raw, plant-based health shift. I'm not even going to call it a diet because...
shift,
we're not even
I don't like diet. Diet sounds weird.
Because diet has the connotation of a temporary situation because diets are not maintained. You can't maintain a diet for a long-term process. Right. So what we really want to do is we really want to shift ourselves into a space where we have completely shifted our diet and completely shifted our physical body chemistry. Yeah. Your body will heal itself given the right environment. So if you can create the right environment within your body has the capacity to self-heal. That's
a reminder of really, because look at our body, like we're not even the same as we were 7 years ago, body-wise. We're brand new people. You know, we if you allow your body the space to do what it does, eating them, putting necessary nutrients in your body to do what it does, like you said, it will heal.
It will.
You know what I mean? And it will heal efficiently.
Restore or heal.
You know,
not necessarily that you have to be sick, but
right.
Your body needs to be restored because we're living in a space where we're taking in these free radicals, we're breathing in these different chemicals and different things in the society that we're living in because we don't have enough greenery.
Yeah.
And in our culture, we have to go visit trees. And we have, and then we don't have enough. We have all the car exhaust and the trucking and the driving and all these things affect our lives. It's a key word, and keywords invoke certain thoughts. Diet is definitely one. Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. It's like, treat ourselves better. You all right with that drink over there? Don't spit on the mic.
So I was trying to use my straw, and then it just dropped down into the bottle.
I don't even see this straw. This straw's like half this bottle.
Like, whatever.
I don't know how that was going to work.
Anyway, so join the journey for health and wellness. And I'll also be sharing some recipes and, maybe some, vlogs around some of the recipes that I've come up with and ways to enhance the taste of your fruits and vegetables. Because I'm big on seasonings.
Yeah.
I'm big on seasonings. Dill, I use a lot of dill, oregano. Cilantro is a staple in our house. I put it in water. I infuse water with cilantro. And we've been using a lot of hemp seed as of late. Although hemp doesn't have a taste.
Sunflower seed bread, I didn't even know that existed.
Sunflower seed bread we added to our, when I made our guacamole. We made guac the other day.
Oh, yes.
Guac wraps.
We love guac.
We love guacamole.
We love guacamole.
Raw food doesn't have to be boring. And I do a food prep. It takes me about maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours to do a food prep for the week.
Yeah.
And we do one food prep for the week, and it's good.
You know, it's funny you say one food doesn't have to be boring. Like, nothing you do has to be boring. Whatever you're committed to, if it turns out boring, then you're committed to boring. Don't be boring.
Don't be boring.
Don't be boring in anything you do.
Be excited.
All right? Create some stuff for yourself. Full of excitement and some fun, because Lord knows there's a lot going on, but people committed to destruction, people committed to boredom and discrimination and racism and all these different things. People are committed to destructive natures that's totally not serving themselves and other people in the space, right? So if you're going to commit to something, commit to being like awesome.
I mean, like, really. Like it's seriously that easy.
True story.
It's seriously that easy.
Commit to being dope. Awesome. Commit to being fun.
Commit to having your life on fleek 24/7. I'm just saying.
We use all the terms.
Why not?
Yeah, we love it.
On
fleek.
Dope.
You lit.
We lit. Listen, we lit.
Transcend.
Soundbytes Radio. Our FM station. WVMR. Get at that.
Okay, our FM station. Right. You know what I mean? But yeah, this is what it's about. We gotta be committed to how we show up for each other. You know what I mean? And how we love ourselves. It's how we love other people. And this world will be better for it, y'all. This world will be richer for it.
It is a collective effort, and I realize that we have our subsets. So inside of our subsets, everyone has a mechanism, tool, or method that allows them to reach their destination or whatever their end result is. And a lot of it is behind the consciousness of scarcity and not enough.
Yeah.
So
that's a reconditioning, a reprogramming that gets to happen, right? And a commitment to it, rather than, a commitment to it. Commitment to reprogram yourself. You know what I mean? Being different. What we got here?
And we are still inside. We're still doing our reading.
We're still in the Soundbytes Book Club.
Guys, we're still in the Soundbytes Book Club. I'm thinking that I'm going to take the Soundbytes Book Club to the blog.
Yeah. Get ready.
As a possibility around really expanding on, because we're in chapter 2 right now, but we're shutting down. So check it out, Michelle Alexander's New Jim Crow, guys.
Yeah.
It's the thing, but it's been the thing for a minute now.
It's backwards.
So it's not new news for most of you guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's been around for some time.
It's been around for a couple of years now.
But also the subject matter's been around for some time too.
The subject matter
is an ongoing conversation
in the space.
This new age of like really is reformatted slavery, reformatted. The new Jim Crow, like any way of like providing control around a people to maintain the power over them, So all this is breaking free from that. This is what this conversation is about. How our youth are looked at, how the family structure is affected by it. Because he's mentioned earlier, this whole idea of how black women or women of color in this movement, going back to the women's movement, women's rights, and how that's looking in turn. Right. With the family, with how the black woman is seeing the black man, affecting. And I'm clear there's black women out there going hard. They've been going hard for the longest time for black men, and in a sense of on a large public landscape, not seeing the return of it. We got celebrities that may not be black men that may not be in relationships with black women based on their status, and black women feeling like in those higher up spaces as well, not feeling like there's a sense of equality in finding a mate or being with a man or being in a space with a black man that's like can match that equal. And that's just looking at it for what it is, on a public landscape. So we really get to understand how we're programmed to be dissected in a family landscape and being the black man with the black woman, the black children, and strengthening that love for blackness for futures and generations.
Well, then there's also a thing when I asked you guys, it's perception, a conversation.
Right.
So let me check out what perception looks like in terms of a conversation around white thought, because we also want to consider how we as people of color, how we on the Earth's landscape, how information and signals and stimuli from the space is creating the way we behave.
Right.
So let's just look at one theory on the quote-unquote war on drugs. So she came into this, she said the war on drugs proved popular among white key voters, particularly whites who remain resentful of black progress, civil rights, enforcement, and affirmative action. Beginning in 1970s, researchers found that racial attitudes, not crime rates or likelihood of victimization, are an important determinant of white support. For get tough on crime and anti-welfare measures among whites, those expressing the biggest degree of concern about crime also tend to oppose racial reform. That's an interesting theory. How does that work? So the people who want war on crime and war on and anti-welfare measures are, interestingly enough, the individuals who don't want racial reform. Why would that be? And you also have, opposed to racial reform and their punitive attitudes towards crime are largely unrelated to their likelihood of victimization. Whites, on average, are more punitive than blacks, despite the fact that blacks are far more likely to be the victims of crime. Rural whites are often the most punitive, and even though they are least likely to be crime victims, the war on drugs, cloaked in racial neutral language, offered whites opposed to racial reform a unique opportunity to express their hostility towards blacks and black progress, without being exposed to the charge of being a racist. Right.
So it provided a gateway, a scapegoat for them to still be racist, but say,
So war on drugs, when quote unquote the war on drugs was happening in communities of color.
Right.
Blessings.
Okay.
And so this is why this is a conversation, because it is a part of those tools and mechanisms that don't work in creating a society that's inclusive. Right. So we really want to examine where these behaviors are coming from.
And examine our perception around what inclusion looks like.
Yeah. So I find it interesting that if we're interested in a war on crime and a war on anti-welfare reform, but we're against racial reform and creating an equitable society, there's some underlying consciousness around it, and it allows, because because of the structure of the society, people who have had a white cultural experience come into the space in a sense of privilege. Many refuse to acknowledge their degree of privilege, and privilege meaning you're given something without due, it's not meritocratic. You didn't earn it, right? So this is what I say: privilege. Privilege is something that I gave you just on the strength. I just threw you a little something. I threw you a little curveball. I gave you a little hookup. I passed you a little something on the strength, not because you earned it. So that's privilege. And people of color don't have access to that same privilege. No matter how much money they make, no matter what degree of status they create, on any given day, if it doesn't suit the white structure, power structure, you will fall. Like, look what they did to Arsenio Hall.
Listen,
they put that man out of work for 20 years.
And he tried to come back. He was talking that same stuff. They was like, oh, you still on that? All right, bro. You can't have that. You out, son.
So, this is the part that doesn't work. This is the part that is systemic oppression. It is a consciousness of an oppressive consciousness. It is a reality that my comfort is more important than your comfort. If I don't like what you're doing, then I'm going to remove you from the space because I have the power to do that.
And that's the biggest issue.
That's the issue.
The comfort part. I'm sorry. Like it really is this thing about this comfort. It's not about what's right. It's not about what's right in this landscape that we're trying to create. It's really about am I comfortable with this? And a lot of times, more often than not, and definitely so, change happens when discomfort takes place, because then that means something new needs to fill the space. If you're always comfortable, then you're not changing. You know what I mean? There's no room for growth there in a comfortable space. You have to be willing to push past whatever quote unquote discomfort or challenge or whatever word you want to put on it in order to create something new and a new possibility in your space. That means whether it's racial, whether it's, gender, whether it's all these different things, have these conversations and be with them to create a new possibility that's forwarding and progressive to the humanity conversation. Humanity
is a conversation, because people of color have definitely dealt with the reality of being 3/5 a man. Yeah. And Michelle Alexander even touches on that quite a bit, around the fact that it's still in the Constitution that black people of African descent are 3/5 man. And most black people, people who have had a black cultural experience, come into the society, into a space where they immediately assimilate. They come into the reality that they know that they need to assimilate to white standard in order to get to where they're trying to get to, in order to create success, in order to create mobility, in order to get wins in this societal landscape. They immediately rank into that space, into that mechanism, technical method.
It's like a get along type of
and
mentality.
It's not even a conscious reality. It's not even thought of. And see, a lot of times people of color are inside of this white power structure, making an attempt to have an identity. Unfortunately, they're also the individuals who are the first ones to diminish other people of color in order to gain favor with individuals in the white cultural space, because they're having a white cultural experience in the way that they think. They totally have not yet put their hand on the white privilege that they have had for their lives. So that is definitely a conversation that we get to have as a unit. And black people, people who've had a black cultural experience, do not get to be with people who have had a white cultural experience in a blame game or in a finger pointing.
Right.
Because that's not the conversation that gets to
accountability is important too.
A space.
Yeah.
It's about being accountable and holding your position as you get to be a contributor and you get to do your own work.
Yeah.
And you get to be a contributor to the landscape. But how about if you don't know what you don't know that you don't know? So hold the position, because like I said, we've all been Bakanaskified. So many of us are not even aware that the way that we think and the actions that we have, because thoughts become actions, the way that we behave are contrary to creating equity. So many well-meaning people who have had a white cultural experience want to create an equitable society, yet they do not know how to. Because you know why? In order for them to do that, they need to assess the fact that the structure that initially was America was based on a white power structure, period. So everything around that was based to support a thriving European, Eurocentric consciousness and thought process. So everything about that was created to create that, to that end. That mechanism, technique, and method was created to create that end. So while you are a person who has had a white culture experience coming out of that space, you're going to need to go through that checks and balances and say, well, you know what, these laws, this reality, this consciousness, these systems don't work for creating an inclusive society. Because yes, we had black people who came over here, we took black people, brought them here to be slaves for free labor. And all of those mechanisms, techniques, and methods that went into play to ensure that they continue to work and create free labor, all of those things have not quite gone away yet. Now, while that wasn't right, while that wasn't righteous or in a right landscape in terms of humanity, it still was done. And it hasn't quite been addressed. And because now the system has gotten so shredded and convoluted and everything is so mixed and matched, who's going to deal with it? And it's not about someone having to be responsible for it in terms of who's going to pay damages. Right? Because that's what it turns into. Because that's a society that is low functioning, low vibration. Low vibration. The higher vibration is what is creating peace and harmony.
Right.
It's not who's going to pay reparations.
Right.
Because granted, that's the legality of our society. And someone does need to pay reparations. Facts. Because if everyone else can get reparations, black people who have had a black culture experience need to get it too. And there's consistently needs to be a conversation around who's going to rectify this experience for people of color. Period. Now, on a one-on-one, man-on-man combat, or man-on-man, man-to-man, woman-to-woman, in our space where we get to create the outcomes and the differences, we get to be the ones that are actually utilities for creating and teaching our fellow man, those that don't know. Because some of us don't know.
Right, and but that's a key thing I'm learning. Like, there's ignorance, and then there's willful ignorance. Because from ignorance and realizing you're ignorant to a certain subject, and really ignorance is not stupidity. It's just ignorance, like you just don't know.
Ignorance is the absence of information.
It's either you within that not knowing, you go on the quest to know and be a party to the solution and a conduit for others to be educated as well. Right. Or do you say, oh, this is a problem, I don't want anything to deal with it. I'm going to be in my space. It's their problem. I'm going to keep in my space of where I once didn't know. Now I know, but I'd rather be in the space of what's happened when I don't know. So that's the willful ignorance. I'd rather willfully be ignorant to the situation. Clear it's taking place. Clear of the effect, but I don't want any part of it. Because for whatever reason. I don't want to be a solution. I don't want work to do. I don't want to just do anything. You know what I mean? And it's understanding where you stand in that. But
there's push, there's cushion.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cushion in this space because of comfort. Because we've come up in a society that is contrary to, people have had a black cultural experience that's contrary to the communal effort. If we could take away the communal effort, then we make everybody worry about individualism, then we'll never have a collective movement that creates inclusion and spiritually connected. So everybody can be their little subsets, and they can come together in their little group, in their little church group, and religious group, and affiliates, etc., etc. And that way, that is a mechanism that is divisive, that ensures that there will never be inclusion and spiritual connectedness. Never. Because everybody in their little subset, little umbrella, little cute little space, they have techniques, mechanisms, and methods to ensure their well-being and their thriving ability. So a collective connection would have there be different methods, techniques, and methods in order to contribute to inclusion and spiritual connectedness. However, the overall arching is going to ensure that this divisiveness stays in place with an effort to continue to have people bumping heads.
Because with 2 becomes 4, with 4 becomes 8, with 8 becomes 16.
And it
multiplies. It multiplies. It's not just groups for the sake of groups and sects. It's groups for the sake of us growing into a larger village, into a larger nation, into a larger world. Right? And always having that mindfulness around how we get to be with each other. We're always talking about that. How do we get to be with each other in a way that's forwarding, progressive, and, ongoing with
we've been able to do it. We did it with Bacon's Rebellion. That's one in particular where it wasn't about anything else other than creating the outcome. So we created a mechanism, a method, and a technique in order for us to create, because we all had a collective reality that we wanted equal pay, we wanted better working conditions, we wanted certain, and we wanted these landowners to see us and stop using us as tools, utilities.
Yeah.
And see us as human beings, and that we have families that we need support around that. So when we had one collective vibration, that was a lesson in history that changed history forever, right? So, and the mechanism of the overarching fundamental practice was to maintain a European-centered power structure in an effort to fortify that and support that in every way. So what we need to do is make sure that these two groups of people, and the book also talks about, lower rung on the social hierarchy of white people. We want to make sure that they never, any class, there's always going to be a class difference, and there's benefit from being in your whiteness. So subscribing to whiteness as people of white cultural experience, no matter where you are on the social strata, you're better than a black person.
Right.
You are better than a black person. So as long as you have access to that reality, you will never join arms with them.
Right.
And then there's a whole lot of consciousness, like I said, we use racially neutral language like war on drugs, anti-welfare reform, in an effort to have people who have had a white cultural experience who hold some internal resentment towards the progress of people of color because their consciousness has been supported by a European-centered white cultural power structure and fortifying of that structure. So anything that steps against that, their consciousness has been nurtured and created, and it has grown in that perspective. So anything that offends that, so seeing a black doctor is offensive to white cultural structure and the fundamental fortification of that structure. So anything in the space that stands to, and you know something? Hear this, black people, we are indeed, we've succumbed to that as well.
We're still complicit.
We've succumbed to that because we're the ones, we're the first. I hear you, Andrew. Hit me up later. It's been too long for yes, indeed, beloved. We'll definitely chat. We're going to keep on chatting.
Yeah.
But we definitely, as a human of people, the moment we see anything that is a fundamental obstruction or comes in to interrupt that white cultural power structure, black folks get real antsy and real uncomfortable. They the first ones.
Say that.
Don't you do that. Don't you don't get me started up in here.
Yeah, that's the whole.
Because I'm going to have to call these Sambos forward.
Okay, now I'm looking at Uncle Tom.
Because it ain't happening right now.
Right.
Right? We can't do this. We cannot continue to be
complicit in our own destruction.
It's incredible. Like,
you cannot be complicit in your own destruction.
It doesn't work, guys.
We're not built with self-destruct buttons. What are you doing?
You learn these behaviors, and you can also unlearn them. So, and again, it's about comfort. So most of us want to be comfortable, and we want to be supported in our ignorance. We want to be supported, and not even ignorance, because most of us, particularly people who have black cultural experience, I'm not even taking that ignorance. Black people who have had a black cultural experience, I'm not taking the ignorance card from you.
Listen, come on. There's too much we know.
I'm not taking the ignorance card.
There's too much we know. There's too much we've created in this lifetime, in this history, for you to be like, I didn't know.
Because the moment I see Tamir Rice. The moment I see Philando Castile, who was not a criminal,
Sandra Bland,
who had done nothing. Sandra Bland, she caught a little snippy attitude, but people of the white culture experience, no black folks got a little snippy attitude. Y'all used to that.
Okay.
Y'all used to that. Y'all know, because let me tell you, like I said, the moment you open your mouth, they're already on guard. So they already knuckling up once you start popping that neck and popping that. Come on, y'all used to black folks and things that they do.
And really,
you're a cop. So if you're a cop, you've had conflict resolution, or you should have had conflict resolution. Or do you believe that a black woman is not due the access to the benefit of the doubt?
And even understanding the culture, what you created in a cultural space, of what that looks like in the heart of black people, is y'all are high blood pressure on wheels and with badges. That's just what has come to. Is y'all the high blood pressure? Y'all, it's not about y'all blame game, but really, if you want to understand the attitudes and the nature of the upsetness of the black community, the nature of why you want to talk about the BS of black on black crime, all these different things. You want to examine the root of what's creating the environments and the mindsets that has people in the space that they are being in this moment.
They don't talk about the think tanks anymore. No one wants to talk about the science.
We're constantly looking at symptoms rather than looking at the virus. We speak to this.
No one wants to talk about it, and they're not talking about the diabolical nature of literally sitting here and creating a mechanism to create an outcome in terms of behavior.
Mm-hmm.
People are not looking at the science of conditioning, of neuroplasty, of programming, neuroplasty, neuroconditioning. We're not looking at that.
Mm-hmm.
We're not looking at the fact that music, I remember some years ago, Oprah said that rap music is making people angry. Or rap music, what did she say? Everybody was so upset with her. When Jay-Z had to go and enroll Oprah and get her on par with the rap game.
Like, if you want to look at it, rap music was created because people were angry and needed an outlet.
What Oprah was talking about, she was talking about the gangster rap. And the rap talking about blowing people's chests out and all of this here kind of foolishness.
Granted, yeah. That
we came to. And granted, you may be upset, but listen, the mechanism is this. You created a mechanism that generates hostile vibration.
Yeah.
And it creates the actions of anger. And then you end up pointing this anger, energy towards people that look just like you.
Yeah.
So this is what she was talking about. She wasn't really talking about throwing away with the art form that is expressed in hip-hop or rap music. That's not what she was talking about. She was talking about, for those who are not aware, that sound and invokes thought and energy. It conditions energy. It allows vibration to get in touch with your spiritual frequency, even if you're not aware that it exists. Because most of you guys are not aware that your spiritual condition, that your spirit being is being manipulated through the tone and the vibration of music.
What is it? 432 versus 444. That's the difference in vibrations of the frequency and what's created in the music. 444, I believe it is, if I'm correct, is the frequency of peace, harmony that creates this vibe within you.
Right.
432 is the frequency that creates peace, is harmony within your vibe. 444 is what is the megahertz of what's a lot of music is created in today, that provides this negative undertone and this negative energy in the way that you receive the music. That energy is within that. So a lot of music is created in that mechanism to build that within you. And that's the way for you to be destructive out in your rest of your life and destructive to your people. That's all a conditioning as well. Like, the music industry is conditioning these behaviors also. And looking at gangster rap and where it came from. Thank you. Gangster rap and where it came from. Initially is a sense of not necessarily glorifying, but speaking to the conditions that black people were living in. Speaking to the conditions that people of color were living in. A lot of it became destructive, violent.
And it was a result of the drug game.
Right, and they needed their outlet too. They wanted to hear that spoke to that street life too. And then in turn it became this thing that glorifies as another mechanism, just like we talk about the new Jim Crow, another mechanism to push in the mindset of the black community and people of color that this is a way to destroy
programming neural pathways. And guess what?
Programming neural pathways.
You know what? So what the mechanism, method, and technique is in terms of fortify the white power structure.
Right.
So that means that anyone inside that white power structure gets to see how that mechanism moves, and they get to take on and latch on to that, because that's where the progress is moving, or where the quote-unquote strength is moving. So therefore, anyone who subscribes to that, there are certain methods, mechanisms, and techniques that they're going to then implement in order to maintain and continue to fortify that structure. So then when gangster rap music and rap beefs and people started getting killed in the rap game and all kind of stuff was happening on the street as a result of the war on drugs, right? It supported fortifying the white power structure. You get what I'm saying? This action supported fortifying the white power structure. So we really want to be clear about what do we subscribe to, and we really want to be we want to censor our spirits and our vibration, because I don't listen to music, certain types of music, and I don't even take it into my spirit. Right now we're listening to
Art of Noise.
Art of Noise.
Movement, I believe the song's called. But yeah, that's you want to get into your vibe, right? Music is a vibe. Music is a powerful tool that sends messages to people, whether it's lyrics or not. Like in this case, you got this Art of Noise track, which is timeless. It's a timeless track. You know what I mean? And it's what are we bringing into our space, our energy center, our spiritual center, to cultivate a different way of being with self and with other people. It always comes back to how we're being with self, in reflection of how we be with other people. And that's what we consume. So we spoke about food earlier. It's also music. It's also conversations. It's also,
Energy.
What are we subscribing to on a daily
basis? How are we connecting with one another?
And what are we subscribing to on a daily basis as, your everyday practice? So, these are things we get to be with.
Yeah.
And our intention with every broadcast of Soundbites is to bring you into that space for 2 hours. You know what I mean? An hour and a half, however it gets to look for you, and ongoing, right? So, yeah.
Peace and blessings, right? Nefera to Matiwa. Sacred lotus blossom of love, joy, harmony, peace, and abundance.
Yes.
And unto Ra I give my heart. This is
Hesire Nefera. Favored by Ra, good of soul.
Ashe.
So we
may the ancestors protect you, keep you, and look over you, guide you, and be your support system moving forth in this life. That you are fortified and lifted up in strength and power. Namaste, from my heart to yours. Peace.
Blessings and one love, y'all. Soundbytes Radio. Tune in every Saturday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. WVMradio.net. /Soundbytes Radio. Follow Soundbytes International on Facebook. Soundbytes Radio on Instagram.
And Soundbytes with Paula.
Soundbytes with Paula
on YouTube.
Where the channel is, many videos that we brought out over the past couple of years, speaking to these various conversations. So get in tune with us, subscribe, follow, like, and share.
And most of all, ingest.
Yeah.
And receive and apply this to your life and to your communities, and start with your families and your neighborhoods and expand so that we can start to build a world that is inclusive, spiritually connected, living in love, joy, harmony, peace, and abundance now.
Yeah, let this not just hit your eardrum, let it permeate into yourself. One love. Peace, y'all. We'll see you next week. Soundbytes Radio, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. WVMR RF station.
RF station.
One love, and we out.
Let them rock out to a little bit more of that autumn noise. Love you guys over there in Soundbytes International. I'll see you guys over there.
We over here at Soundbytes International.
Check in, share with friends.
Check in, share. We love y'all.
From my heart to yours.
You already know.